straight up with no twists. And our first guest of the show is a very accomplished boxer making a name for himself, victorious last week on Friday Night Fights, big unanimous decision 10-round victory over the very rugged and accomplished fighter in his own right, Brian Vera. This is his second trip on Zutes Boxing Talk. We're talking to Willie Monroe Jr., the Mongoose. Welcome back, and thanks for coming on, Willie. How you doing tonight?
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks a lot for having me.
No, thank you, and congratulations, first of all, on your unanimous decision victory over Brian Vera. Brian Vera is a fighter that had that reputation of being a tough guy, always coming to fight, always primed for an upset. He's going to come right at you. You had to know all that going in. How much of his style did you have to adjust to in your training camp, or did you just develop your own game plan knowing that whatever Brian Vera had, you had something a little better? How did you approach the game planning going into the fight?
I think the biggest thing, and one of the things that we honed in on in training camp was just being able to stay focused for a 10-round period, fighting in my backyard with, fans not letting the crowd get to me and gas me up to do something that could be detrimental, because we all know Brian Vera is very dangerous. It's just staying focused more than anything, because I think his style of bringing it on is tailor-made for me. The same thing Teddy Atlas alluded to in the pre-fight warm-up, as in, I'm the mover boxer, he's the come-forward banger. So his style sort of fed my style, and I think the one thing that changed is, not changed, but the one thing that was different is his strength. He was very strong. He's a very strong man. So it was I had to adjust to that. But other than that, man, it was just basically me doing what the Mongoose does. That's hit and not get hit.
Now going into a fight with a guy, a big, strong guy, like you said, with his caliber, he's going to be there. I mean, you had to anticipate you were going to get hit a little bit, and you didn't get hit much, but he did connect a couple of early rounds with some good right, at least appeared to be good right hands. How was his punching power of what you tasted?
Oh, no, he's definitely strong. He's a strong puncher. It's different ways to gauge power and strength. Like I tell people, I was in camp with Andre Berto. He's a good friend of mine, and I was also in camp with Miguel Cotto. People would say, well, what's the difference in the punching power? Who hits harder? And it's not like who hits harder. It's a different type of power. There's a difference between strength and power, where power is more in speed. So, Miguel Cotto has that power to where, like, if he hits you, it's like paralyzing power, whereas Andre Berto has that power because he's so fast, next thing you know, you were waking up somewhere. That's the type of power. That's how I explain it. So with Brian Vera, he has that more like a strength-type power that's like Miguel Cotto, but he's a little bigger and stronger. So his punches, especially his punches to the body, were almost like paralyzing shots. But what I did was I was dipping and rolling with the punches and taking a lot of the steam off him, because if you just stand there and try to take punches from someone like Brian Vera, you'll be in for a long night.
Yeah, and you definitely did a good job, and you opened up, I thought, a little bit more offensively. You were laying down a lot more of your shots. You were hitting him with some big shots. Did you feel that you needed to do that to neutralize his strength, or was that something you were thinking about going in?
Well, that was one thing we worked. Another thing we worked on in camp. Me and my strength and conditioning coach, Lee Davis, we actually started lifting weights a little bit, just a little bit. Nothing to take away from my speed. We started working with weights just a little bit, because my personal advisor, he's like my secret weapon, Pedro Diaz. He told me, he gave me a couple of his books and told me, he said, if you start lifting weights just a little bit, nothing crazy, you'll build up some more power. So we worked on a little bit of weightlifting, something different in camp this time, and power to make Brian Vera sort of respect us, because if a power puncher doesn't respect your power, just walk right through you. So we had to make him respect us, and we decided to sit down on some shots and it worked. Especially in the fifth round, if you see, I went to touch his glove, and he sort of touched my glove lightly, then clocked me with a left hook, and my whole demeanor changed, and I really started laying some leather down after that. So.
You definitely were, yeah, and you definitely looked like you wanted to take him out there, especially in the later rounds. I'm going to open it up to my co-host Frank Zong. He has some questions for you as well. Frank, take it away.
Okay. Hey, well, it's good to talk to you.
Awesome. Nice to talk to you too.
Very good. And I actually had a question about that fifth round against Vera. When you reacted the way you did to that left hook off the glove touch, was that more out of instinct, or was there a thought behind that, saying, just telling yourself, okay, maybe I should try to break this guy down a little bit because he's willing to do something like that?
I was a little bit of both. I think it was more fighter instinct. If you hit me with something, I got to get you back 3-4 times. You know what I mean? If you hit me with one punch, I got to catch you with 4 or 5 of them hard. And every time you hit me, it's going to multiply by another 5. That's how I think. So, he caught me with a nice sweet one, and I said, I got to get him back. And also, it looked like I almost was ready to put him away, but he's a cagey fighter. He's experienced, and, he knew how to hold on and sort of stagger my attack a little bit. So.
Mm-hmm. When you have a guy in a position like that, can you sometimes feel them maybe break a little bit or shrink a little bit? And did you feel that with Vera in that moment?
Like I needed a break?
No. Did you when you have a fighter like that where you're catching them with combinations, do you feel them kind of break down a little bit or shrink a little bit? And were you able to do that to Vera?
Yeah. I felt him sort of diminish a little bit, and I was sneaking in some nice little short, hard body shots, and I felt his power and his attack diminished a little bit. It wasn't as aggressive as it was like the first 3-4 rounds.
Mm-hmm. Did you how did you feel kind of going into that fight too? Like, did you feel different because you had come off of a lot of success in the tournament? Like, did you feel like that's something that would have been essential to help you have the mindset to be able to defeat a guy like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, because it builds your confidence. Teddy alluded to that during the fight. It feeds your confidence, and with you being busy and fighting, on a regular, it keeps you in the mood. It keeps you from being rusty. And then on top of that, you got to realize I was an underdog in just about every fight I was an underdog, especially the fight when I fought Kopalenko. And I think I proved to everyone that I'm a lot more than just a little bit of flash. So I think, it definitely, put my confidence on 100,000 trillion, as they say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how that weight training program for that fight, did it benefit in other ways? Like, did it feel that, because I've heard fighters say that putting on more muscles, it feels like it gives them a shell. Did you feel kind of the benefits of that, especially when you were against the ropes a little bit with Brian Vera trying to hit you in the body?
Well, no. I mean, the only difference I felt is I felt a little more solid. That's like in my power punching. Everything else felt the same because we didn't go and like put on a bunch of muscle. We just switched up a couple exercises, and instead of doing squats with, like 2 25-pound kettlebells, we actually did squats with like 115 pounds. So it wasn't like we did a drastic change. We just added a little more, so we'll have a little more muscle on our shots because, now I have a wider upper frame, so, I carry 160 pretty well now. So, I mean, like, we didn't go crazy and go, like stupid and just like start benching a bunch of weight and stuff like that. We kept it in the range of what we do, just added a little bit more weight, so we'll have a little bit more mustard on the shot. Because I can't take away from my athleticism. My athleticism is, my biggest asset, my speed and my athleticism. So we can't take away from that.
Mm-hmm. And growing up, like with the style that you have, and getting the nickname the Mongoose, what kind of guys did you model yourself after, or who were you influenced by the most? Because I know your uncle was a great middleweight back in his day. Was he one of the guys who influenced you the most, and were there other guys, other figures?
No, my grandfather molded me, and my grandfather taught me, because my grandfather is the one that introduced the worm to boxing. My grandfather is the worm's bigger brother. his older brother. You know, all the boys boxed and played baseball. And my grandfather and the fighters I emulated once I came into my own and started, you know, really watching boxing, you know, when I was younger. Fighters I emulated were Sugar Ray Leonard and Roy Jones Jr. You know, Roy was like my idol. You know, everything I did was Roy Jones style. So Roy Jones and Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, I watched a lot of Ali. You know, anybody with fast hands and a flashy style is what I like. Cause, you know, I always looked at boxing as not just fighting, but it's entertainment.
And we're speaking with Willie Monroe Jr., fresh off his victory Friday night fights. We'll get back to Frank in a second. Willie, you mentioned the fact of all the fights you had last year and that you were the underdog in most of the fights in the Boxino tournament. In 2014, the tournament kept you busy. You were definitely fighting frequently. You had about a little more than a 7-month layoff before this fight, which is something, with all the fights you had, I'm sure it was necessary. Explain the process of going through that layoff, which was pretty lengthy considering the fact that you were so busy in 2014. How did you handle that? What was the regimen, so to speak, in getting back? Were you targeting January right away? And after you answer that, tell us when you're looking to get back in the ring again.
Okay, well, I'll answer your second question first. I'm looking to hopefully get back into the ring around April. You know, I think March or April, you know, gives me enough time at home, my family, and then, you know, I can go away for another 5 weeks, you know, in camp. So hopefully April. But I was, you know, even though I wasn't busy in the ring, after May in 2014, I was still very busy. You know, I recently got married in July, and then I went on my honeymoon. And when I was on my honeymoon, we spent part of our honeymoon in Miami, where I got a chance a couple of days to actually sit and talk with Pedro Diaz, who, you know, I consult with here and there about different things. And I got a chance to just, you know, talk to him and enhance some things. And I stayed in the gym, and then when I came home, I went and did the movie Southpaw with Jake Gyllenhaal, Forrest Whitaker. It's coming out, I think, July of this year. So being on the set of that with Victor Ortiz, and I stayed in shape there because they let the fighters train while we were there. Then when I came home, I was over in Russia twice. I was over in actually the Ukraine. I was supposed to spar with the IBO junior middleweight champion. I totally forget how to pronounce his name. But and then when I came back from that, I was in camp with Ishe Smith when he was getting ready for Adesanya De Lara. So I stayed busy. I stayed busy as far as boxing is concerned. I just wasn't in the ring. So you know, it kept me fresh. It kept me, you know, kept the wheels oiled, as I usually say. So that's why I was able to jump back in the ring in January with no problems and look like I never left.
Sounds good, and congratulations, of course, on your wedding. A nice life changer there, I'm sure. And we were going to ask you about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just said, yeah, definitely. This is a life changer.
Yeah, of course. And I was going to ask you about the movie and getting the role in Southpaw and what we can expect from it. But first, tell us what the process was like in landing a spot in that much anticipated film.
Well, the executives called my promoter, Artie Perulo, and they said he's articulate, you know, he's fun to watch, he has a great TV personality. And then I guess someone alluded to that I have a TV-friendly face. So I guess that's a way of saying I'm handsome, I think, I hope, you know. So they asked Artie, you know, would I be interested? And when Artie brought it to me, I said, definitely. How could I turn that down? And it's funny because I think I'm the only boxer that was on the set of the movie that didn't play a boxing role. So, but it's a cool movie. It's a real cool movie, and I have fun. And what a lot of people don't know is, you know, everybody know I have a background in music, but I graduated from a performing arts school for music and acting. So, you know, I did the Wiz, I did Ragtime, I've done a couple stage plays, so it was right down my alley.
Antoine Fuqua is one of my favorite directors. It must have been fun working with him.
Oh, he's amazing, and he loves boxing, so.
it's good to see that you didn't have a Lennox Lewis moment. What movie? Ocean's 11. Yeah, after that
Ocean's
movie, he came in and he got himself knocked out. So it's good that you already got that out of the way. You had your first fight after your big break in the movies, and you were very successful. So that's a good thing. Frank, go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Willie. How does that kind of put your boxing career in perspective? Does it give you some ideas of what you might want to do alongside your boxing career, or maybe a little bit after?
Oh yeah, it definitely does. I've always thought like that because, like I said, I graduated from performing arts school. I had a music career. Me and my group have done major acts like opening up for Tank, Genuine, Mario, T-Pain. We've done a bunch of big acts, so it's always in the back of my mind to be able to have a career after boxing. So, I mean, and to get the experience while I'm fighting is all the better. So, definitely, I'm looking forward to a career in showbiz after boxing if possible. And if not, I could be a commentator. I would really like to be like Paulie Malignaggi or Andre Ward or Roy Jones, you know, on the other side of it. That way I can stick close to boxing still.
Absolutely. And I've heard some guys say that boxing is such a rhythm-based sport, and I've heard some of the old timers say that they always train to jazz. Is there any specific type of music that you'd like to train to, or how has music kind of influenced the way you train or how you fight?
Oh yeah, music and especially dancing. I'm a dancer also. Like I was in an R&B group, we dance also. Definitely helps your timing and movement, and it definitely helped me lose weight before fights. I still dance. And the music I like to train to, I was trained in hip-hop music, R&B music, but my favorite type of music to train to is salsa music. When I'm skipping rope, I love salsa. I have a whole salsa playlist. I'll skip rope for 30 minutes straight just listening to salsa music because it's such smooth music and the beat, you know, the beat and just the feel of the music is, you know, and I'm skipping rope. I'll do salsa moves while I'm skipping rope. It's crazy. I really like salsa music when I'm skipping rope.
And really help you kind of just get used to being relaxed in hairy situations, I'm sure, in the ring.
Yeah, you just free your mind, man, and dance away. When I'm in the gym and I turn on my salsa music, nobody says Willie Monroe's about to skip rope. They say, oh, Will's about to dance. The Mongoose is about to dance on him. So, you know, that's my dance time. 30 minutes of dancing after the training session to salsa music.
That's funny because when I asked you that earlier question about who influenced you, I was actually expecting you to list Pernell Whitaker in that list of boxing greats, but I guess it's also the salsa music instead of Sweet Pea.
Definitely. No, I used to watch Sweet Pea a lot. Sweet Pea, I could tell you everybody I watch. Sweet Pea, I love Meldrick Taylor. I love watching his old films. Anybody with fast hands and a flashy style, man. Emmanuel Augustus, Prince Nassim, anybody who was just, you know, special or different at what they did. Those are the people I like to watch.
And give us a little glimpse into what you're thinking about in terms of opponents. I know you say you're planning on being back in April. Who do you see yourself ready for in 2015? Like throw some names out there, Gennady Golovkin or Canelo Alvarez, or just as an example. It doesn't have to be those guys, but anybody else.
Those two names are definitely on my radar because it looked like it's getting hard for Canelo to make 154. So, I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind a fight with Canelo. I think that would be great. And I think Aderslan De Lara laid out the blueprint of what it takes to beat Canelo. I think he won the fight with Canelo, and I think they took it. But I actually like to see a Canelo or a Gennady Golovkin actually try to hit me. You know, they talk about the power of a Gennady Golovkin. I like to actually see them catch me with a clean shot. You know, that would be the story of the night. And I mean, those guys. I mean, those two guys. You have another guy that a couple people mentioned, and I said that would be a bang out fight. I would love it. I think that would be a perfect fight. Is David Lemieux. I mean, that kid has dynamite in both hands, man, and he's swinging for the fences. Everything he throws has smoke on it. So I mean, like, I like to see how I would fare against a guy with that type of a guy that dangerous with that type of power, and I like to see if he would be able to deal with a slick southpaw. You know, and if I could get the Charlo brothers both in the same night, that'd be fun. So.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of great opportunities and possible matchups for you in the middleweight division. The highest ranking you have is number 3 currently in the WBA, and Daniel Jacobs also has part of the title there. along with the Triple G, those great sanctioning bodies for you. That's the fight I'm thinking of, you and Daniel Jacobs. How about that one?
I think me and Danny Jacobs would be a great fight. It'd be a skillful fight, but you got to realize me and Danny Jacobs are also real good friends. So if I could avoid fighting a friend, I would do that. Like, we're both from New York. We were both on amateur teams together. We sparred together. When he was going through his battle with cancer, I was a part of a couple different donation teams and prayer teams. So, and I spoke to him a couple of times through social media, just to big him up. So, on a personal level, I personally wouldn't want to fight him just because of, what he's been through and how close we are. But, at the end of the day, if they put $10 million on the table, I'm pretty sure me and Danny will be like, look, let's go ahead and make this money. So, but other than that, if we could avoid fighting each other, I'm pretty sure he would say the same thing. But at the end of the day, it's a business, so, that's not a fight I would shy away from. But if you were to make two really good friends fight, I think they should make it worth our while and don't just make us fight for peanuts. If you're gonna have two friends that really don't want to fight each other, at least make it worth our while financially.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you, but one of the best fights I've ever seen was Simon Brown versus Maurice Blocker, and they were best friends. So I'm a little sinister that way. I like to stir up trouble. But Frank, we'll go back to you before we close it out. Any other questions for Mr.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So yeah. And I was just thinking about when you were talking about a potential fight with Danny Jacobs, something that you want to avoid. But have you had guys that you fought that you knew pretty well, maybe not personally, but you knew their style pretty well, and they also knew your style pretty well? And how did that affect your preparation in the fight?
Well, I fought Brandon Adams. We were pretty good friends, but we weren't friends as long as me and Danny were friends. Me and Danny have known each other since we were kids. But, I became real good friends with Brandon Adams, and he has that come-forward style. So I guess we can use Brandon Adams for this one. It's just I guess I just knew his style a little bit better. He was a little bit less experienced. So, that was an easy fight. But it was not an easy fight, but it was easy for me to imply my game plan based on his experience. But other than that, I haven't really had to fight any friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going into that tournament, too, what was your mindset going in? Were you almost 100% confident that you were going to come out as the victor of the tournament, or was it a bit more of a kind of a look and see how we do and hope for the best, or was it a little bit of both?
Well, I'm a humble dude, so I wouldn't want to say, I went in like, I'm going to win this. But I did go into it with a true fighter's mentality because, it was some managers reached out to my manager and was like, do you want to petition that our guys don't fight each other in the first or second fight or the first fight? That way we'll know that they'll make it to the second fight and then we'll go from there. My manager reached out to me and said, that's something you want to do? And I said, nah, man, put my name in the hat, draw it, and keep it moving. I don't care who I fight. I'll fight all 7 of them on the same night if I have to. This is tournament style, so I don't want to sit up here and cry and whine and try to, baby pick and nitpick about who we're going to fight. You know what I mean? Like, let's draw 2 of them in and do the breakdowns with single elimination. And that's the attitude I had throughout the tournament. And when guys, when it came down to me fighting Vitaly Kopalenko, everybody thought I was going to lose. Nobody gave me a chance. And that's the fight that I relished the most because I was like, okay, now it's time for me to show who Willie Monroe is. Now it's time for me to imply the things that I preach about all the time. And that's the fight I was most geeked about, most excited about, because I know nobody thought I could win that fight. And I knew that I could make it easy. And the fight with Vitaly Kopalenko ended up being my easiest fight.
Yeah, it definitely was a fabulous performance, and we definitely appreciate all the treats you have given us so far, and we look forward to seeing you again in the year 2015. The last question I have for you, Willie, is the last 3 fights you've had have been at the Turning Stone. It's been a great venue for you. You mentioned that little extra added pressure with the home crowd. Do you anticipate fighting away from there in your next fight, or do you want to stay in that venue for the next couple of fights or so?
Oh, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if we fight. With my amateur experience, I know what it's like to fight. Nationally, internationally, and with my, as a professional and with my how do you say, with my discipline, I know that whether I'm home or in another guy's backyard, I know how to control myself, and I know how to execute under any type of pressure, and that's championship qualities, and that's something that you guys we'll just have to wait to see.
Well, hopefully we don't have to wait too long. And Frank, any other questions for Willie?
One last question, man. What's your predictions for the Super Bowl?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go with them Seahawks, man. You know me, I'm a defensive fighter, so I gotta go with that defensive team.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to go with the Seahawks, man.
Yeah,
all right.
Seahawks are my pick as well.
My pick is nobody should watch it. Frank said that he likes the Seahawks as well. I don't care who wins, to be honest with you. But no, I'm not a big NFL guy. But I mean, I'll watch to see if my numbers come out. But that's about it. But Willie, thank you. Thank you for giving us some of your time. I'll give you some final thoughts for the fans, and look forward to seeing you fight again, and obviously come on the show once again. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you, Willie El Mongoose Monroe Jr. Take care and have a good night.
Yep. You too.
All right. So, Willie's making a name for himself. He was on the show last. He was in the midst of the Boxino tournament, came out of that victorious, and now is climbing up the ranks. He's all over the rankings in the middleweight division. A lot of talent, a lot of potentially great fights, a lot of fights in that division that we have to look forward to already. And you threw a lot of names out there. Lemieux, the Charlo brothers, obviously, the big dog, Triple G, Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto would be probably the biggest fish for him because it's the big money fight out there. He probably even a bigger money fight there than with Triple G. But a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of good potential in that middleweight division, one of the divisions in boxing that has such a great history, Frank. And as long as these guys stay active and fight each other, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of potential good fights in and around those weight classes. You got one weight class up. Andre Ward will maybe even be making his comeback soon at 168 or maybe at 175. I don't know what his plans are now after being so inactive for so long. But yeah, Willie threw out Erislandy Lara out there. A lot of fans probably wouldn't want to see that fight because it's two defensive fighters, two evasive fighters. But